After Auburn's latest commitment, does that put them still playing catch up, or are they right on schedule?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Monday. Feels like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. I was off last night doing cheer dad stuff in Nashville, driving back, getting in late. Zach and Dap held down on the Barncast Live. So, gosh, this has been – it feels like it's been a week, but it's really only been Friday. We're going to take a recruiting snapshot after Auburn's latest commitment. We're going to talk about where Auburn stands. Is Auburn behind? Is Auburn playing catch-up still? Or in reality, are they right on schedule? Could they be primed for a big summer? And then we got to talk baseball. And we'll call some folks out, all right? And we'll call some folks out, and we're going to have fun talking about baseball. But let's jump right into it. Auburn's latest commitment. I know the guys talked about recruiting last night. I haven't had a chance to talk about Braylon yet. Braylon Odor that Auburn just added over the weekend. He makes Auburn's fourth commitment in like 2.5 weeks. Since, I guess, April the 18th is when Auburn added George Lamons and then started rattling off several commitments, kind of headlined by that Myson Johnson Cook edition. Let's talk about Braylon first. He's borderline 4-star guy. He's like about as high as you possibly can be on the 3-star metric before he bumps up to an industry 4-star. Big kid, 6'3", 195, 200, whatever. He's just transferred to Riverdale High School in Murfreesboro. He was at Blackman High School his previous high school career, and had a pretty big year last year. He had 24 catches for 484 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's what's crazy to me. One-third of his receptions ended in touchdown. Now, I know that traditionally, when you look at Tennessee high school football, it's one of those hit or miss things. I think competition level is always in question. But regardless, the staff has liked this kid ever since they were at South Florida. I think he was offered back then when they were there amongst that staff. He's got offers from Ole Miss, Indiana, the defending national champion. He's actually been to Indiana quite a few times on visits. Been to Ole Miss quite a few times on visits. Vanderbilt was also in the mix, obviously, with the location of being right there close to Nashville. And I would know because I just drove through there this past weekend. Kind of crazy sidebar. I'm 40 years old. That's really the first time I've ever been down in Nashville. It's pretty dope. I digress. So where is Auburn currently? Okay, we talked about Braylon. I like to look at the Rivals industry average, not only because it has Auburn as the highest. That's the highest it's got Auburn rated. But because mainly I like the way their formula is progressive. Okay, and what do I mean by that? It's sort of like a real-time snapshot of where teams are as the year goes on. Okay, so one thing they do that I like is they take essentially your whole class and then they stagger what they use, how many they use of those commits to rank your class, and it grows as the year goes by. Okay. So basically right now they're taking like your top 7 recruits. Okay. And then that'll bump up a little bit on the next update, and it'll keep bumping up until, you're working on, I think it maxes out at 17. It'll take your top 17 guys and average those out. So it really gives you an idea of where you stand right now. Okay. It gives you an idea of like where we sit, and I don't have to have 25 commits right now to be to have my class have any value, it kind of keeps pace with you as you go. So currently, Auburn sits at number 17 overall, and I think number 8 in conference. Okay. And when you just look at it from a numbers perspective, if you're like me, I was at the point where I was like, I wasn't necessarily concerned, but I just was worried that maybe some things that were happening last year about this time were carrying over from the off the field perspective, like things that are out of the coach's control. Okay. When we're talking NIL, we're talking about the rev share versus third party. When we're talking about all that stuff where we were having the issues last year, I was a little bit concerned that maybe some of that's hanging over. You only had one commit in February, and then you lost a commit before you went on this run. I'm like, man, I'm hoping this is not a sign that we have some back office issues, so to speak. And then obviously you rattle off the several, and right now Auburn's right there in the mix, right there in the middle of the SEC. And I think there's a lot of room to grow. Okay. And then when you look at this from a historical perspective, where would you think Auburn would be overall as far as number of commits compared to like previous classes? Right now, Auburn's at 5. So what do you compare this to? Let's say that 2024 class that was quote unquote historic on paper. When you look at it, when you go back and actually look at those commitment dates, remember Auburn hit the gas pedal in like June and July. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, and the Rivals database is correct, Walker White was the first commit, and that was the only one Auburn would have had before, say, May 4th of that year. So at that point in time, Auburn didn't have anywhere near 5 commits. So then you go back in time, you go look at, you got to go all the way back to like, I don't know, 2015. That was a pretty historic class for Auburn too. That was one of Gus's best classes. And that's a class that had, 5 or 6 commits at this point in time of the year before they really took off. So when you take that into consideration, Auburn is pretty much right on pace with where they typically always are as far as number of commits. And then I would say probably right on pace as far as quality of commits as well. Again, you got 3 very highly rated 4-stars, all guys inside the top 250. One of them that's in the top 50 of the country who could be in consideration for, 5-star status if he has a good camp series, which with his size and speed, I would imagine he will just absolutely destroy the camp series. I'm talking about Myson Johnson Cook. Donovan Moore, who's another one that's those interior defensive linemen. If they have good camps, that good marketing circuit, he's another one that could jump up in rankings. So you got 3 there. You got Brylan, who's borderline on every single site. You got a really good chance. You got a really good core of commits already. And then honestly, you're right on schedule, right where Auburn needs to be, where Auburn has been historically. I always like to look back because sometimes there's a difference between like reality and perception. Okay. And I know a lot of times people say perception is reality, but sometimes it's not. And I think we perceived that Auburn's struggling in recruiting. We perceived, and I'm talking about before this flurry of commits, that Auburn there started to be rumors or storylines that, John Cohen's the bad guy again. He's holding back recruiting. Like there was literally conversations about that. Like that's the point it had gotten to. And in reality, you're kind of right on pace. So I think Auburn can have a very big summer like they typically always do. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. Then we're going to talk about baseball. Before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to the PTAC Precision Tune Auto Care in Opelika. Look, if I got to go, I got an oil change scheduled for this week for my other vehicle. Love working with these guys. Know that I can go when I go in there. I don't go in there kind of worried that they're about to hit me with all the different things to maximize the revenue on the visit. They're going to take care of what I need to take care of. And then I know they're going to tell me, they're going to be honest with me and tell me what's wrong if anything I need to have addressed right away. So right at the corner of Pepperell Parkway in Opelika, locally owned and operated. It's not about the first visit. It's not about killing you on the first visit. It's about the relationship to keep you coming back year after year. So check them out. It's Precision Tune Auto Care. And then don't forget to go by and check out buyauburn.com, whether you're shopping or whether you're a business owner and you're looking to get a very, very good advertising deal from a dollar perspective. For less than $1 a day, you can join our professional network and join guys like Vaughn Defense here in Opelika. If you're a student and you're having issues, any legal issues, hey, you need to give Artie Vaughn a shout. Go to Vaughn Defense and he can help you out. Like, that's kind of what their specialty is. That's the kind of things here at buyauburn.com. If you're going to shop, if you're going to do business with Auburn people first. It's buyauburn.com. We'll be back right after this. Looks like Auburn could have, like they typically do, a really, really big, I say summer, but I think May could be big. May could be big leading into June and July. Because remember, July used to be, maybe this is pun totally intended. There used to be a lot of fireworks in July. But now July, for the most part, is a dead period. So that does shift a little bit of the timeline up. There'll still be commits in July, but your official visits and all those sleepless nights, those long weekends hosting kids, that's when it really ramps up. And understand, this is also when a lot of those real money conversations happen. It is what it is. Okay, just embrace it. That's what college football is now. And you can talk and whatever in February and March. Yeah, we'll do this. But when that official visit comes around, that's a lot of times when numbers go on paper. Okay, that's a lot of times when, the talk actually turns into something that's a tangible offer. You got Big Cat Weekend. I thought last year we completely screwed the pooch on Big Cat Weekend with the dead period thing being added and having no real plan for it. This year they've moved it up, so we'll see how that works. To May the 16th, I believe, is when Big Cat Weekend is. So that's less than 2 weeks away. You got a couple of big visitors. Nash Johnson is coming in that weekend, and obviously he's coming in with a lot of different folks. But Nash Johnson is one I singled out because I really think Auburn is in a very, very good spot with him. They're going to be battling Tennessee. I think I saw something, and then I think Clemson just offered him as well. So very, very, very good athlete there. But you have visit after visit lined up. May 29th, you have a giant visitor list. You got Joshua Dobson, who, man, I don't know why, but for some reason, it just feels like Auburn is going to be in that one. Like I know Auburn's made the finalist list. It just feels like Auburn's going to have something to say in that one. Kids are, 5-star corner. You're going to be, that's a chance to make a big statement. It's a position that Auburn typically does not land 5 stars, but he loves Auburn. He's always retweeting Auburn stuff. He's always commenting in Auburn stuff. I just, something about that kid makes me feel like Auburn may have a shot, a more than realistic shot. that May 29th weekend is going to be big. Again, you got Jabarius Garor, who we've talked about, Viger, edge that you got to decommit from Alabama. I don't not necessarily saying Auburn got him to decommit, but they're one of the reasons that he decommitted because he's obviously very interested. His teammate Isaac McNeil, which Auburn seems to have a really big lead for, 6'3", 210 linebacker. I can go on and on. Okay, there's a lot of really, really good visitors lined up throughout May and into June. And that to me seems a little bit more like the explosion timeline. Like if you want to see, I mean, I say that Auburn did just rattle off 4 in like 2.5 weeks, but it feels like you could get well into the double-digit commits, by the end of maybe June or middle of July, once these kids come in and, again, official visit. And in reality, again, you're going to talk numbers. Like you're going to talk like legitimate numbers at this point in time. So Auburn's right on schedule. And unbeknownst to me, because, I mean, there was a time that before I really looked into this, I kind of felt like Auburn was behind, playing catch-up. But Auburn's right where they historically are as far as recruiting goes. Look to make a big dent in that class and hopefully have your class wrapped up, before the season starts. That kind of still feels like what the goal is. Again, recruiting changes so much. It's hard to really have a full grasp on what to expect and when to expect it, but it does feel like that's still kind of the goal. You want to have as much done as possible before the season starts. And then just kind of hang on. Focus on the season, bring in some visitors, and you just kind of hang on to what you got and then pick off a few here or there. So I still don't think that changes much. I still think Auburn has a smaller class, 15, 16 guys. So you're, 10 guys away from that? 10, 11 guys away from that. So, yeah, right on schedule. Let me know what you think about recruiting. Let me know what you think about if you have any questions or comments or, do you disagree with my assessment? Hit me up in the comments. I want to talk baseball just a second. After they basically destroyed Texas A&M 2 games in a row, won the doubleheader, they got just totally deep into A&M's bullpen in the very, very first game, which is something that they do often. And you only burned one arm. You only burned one of your arms. So then you're just totally set up for game 2. And then game 3, I mean, even game 3, you almost came back and won that one. But in reality, it didn't really matter because you took 2 of 3 on the road, which is just so, so hard to do. And then it's really hard to do when you do it against like a top 10 team. How many of you, I'm going to call some folks out, not anybody specific. How many of you had given up on this team after Alabama swept them? How many of you were calling for coaching changes? How many of you were criticizing our approach? I've heard that so much. We have such a bad approach at the plate. It's got to be the hitting coach. We have a bad approach. I've heard that term a ton. And then all of a sudden, now they're absolutely shelling the ball, scoring double-digit runs in conference games, and winning big series. Hand up, right? Raise your hand right now if you had given up on this team, given up on this staff, and don't play coy because there was a ton of it. I'm not just making up this out of the air, okay? There were people that were ready to just throw the towel in on this baseball season. And now you have a baseball team that's top 4 in the freaking country in RPI. They've played an impossible schedule. They still have 2 really, really tough series left. But now with the win this weekend, the series win this weekend, you may be in a scenario where you don't even necessarily have to win the last 2 series. Now, I'm not saying Auburn go out there and get swept 2 times, but you may have had such a hot run that these last 2 series don't super duper matter. you got to go to Mississippi State, and then you get Georgia at home. The Mississippi State's always tough on the road. But honestly, what's funny is that one is the one that you're like, you maybe take a breath, because Georgia's just dominating the conference. They're they're number one in the conference. They hit a pile of home runs. For some reason, they're way behind on RPI. But for whatever reason, we were ready to throw in the towel, and now here we are. So it just goes to show you, like, baseball's a long season. You play a ton of games. You got to let these guys play their way out of it before we're ready to just shut down the program, okay? Yeah, it sucked losing to Alabama. It sucked having that be like the year sweep of the Big Three. But in reality, how much did it really matter? How much did it really matter? All of Auburn's postseason hopes were still in front of them, and now maybe even more in front of them right there than ever. Auburn sits at number 8 in the D1 baseball top 25. You still got to play Georgia, who's at 5, and then Mississippi State's at 10. So that's how you finish. And then hopefully also, you don't slip up against Jacksonville State, who you still have on the schedule in the midweek game. Remember, they came in and I think shelled us at home, which they're actually pretty high up in the RPI too. So you got UAB on Tuesday in Birmingham. And then you got Mississippi State. You got to go to Mississippi State. So 2 tough road games back to back. Then you come home and you try to finish it off against Georgia. And it looks like, if things hold serve, Auburn's going to be right there in the hosting category. I'm talking about super regional. If you get through the regional. So good stuff, man. Baseball. Don't ever give up on baseball. Don't ever give up on these teams that have really, really long seasons. Like, they're going to go through ups and downs. Basketball is very similar. They're going to go through ups and downs. You got to hang in there. Auburn's pitching's too good. And then right now, that lineup from 1 through 9 is just raking the ball. Like, they're hitting the ball. That's the thing. And that's one of the reasons I never got too concerned, because they're still hitting the ball hard. Like, the Alabama series, they hit the ball hard so many times. You just hit right to people. Think about the Oklahoma game, the one that you lost, game 2. How many hard shots up the middle do they hit, including the last play of the game, where dudes just made unbelievable plays? Like, those eventually fall. And a lot of times they fall in bunches, and that's what happened this past weekend. So baseball is, they're good. It's a good team, and it's going to be a really fun team. They're a nightmare to me for anyone in a 3-game series. So if you can get through the regional, they're going to be a nightmare to anybody with those arms in a 3-game series. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Glad to be back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.